Imagine a child standing in a field, looking up at the sky, full of hope and wonder. But now, picture that same child, with invisible chains, held down by memories they cannot explain, a fear they cannot shake, a sadness that clings to them. This child grows into an adult, still bound by those invisible chains. This story might sound familiar because for many, it is their story. The great Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." But what if the suffering started in childhood? What if the traumas of our earliest years have silently shaped our lives, and we carry them with us like baggage too heavy to drop? Today, we will dive into 10 childhood traumas that may be keeping your life stagnant, and more importantly, how the principles of Stoicism can help you heal, move forward, and reclaim your life. Stay with us to the end, because the journey of healing begins not just with understanding the traumas, but with unlocking the power of your own mind and spirit. This is a journey not just of knowledge, but of transformation. The trauma of abandonment. We begin with one of the most primal fears, the fear of abandonment. A child who feels abandoned by a parent, whether emotionally or physically, carries a deep wound into adulthood. They often grow up with a pervasive sense of insecurity and fear of being left behind. In Stoicism, we learn that what happens to us is outside our control, but how we react is entirely within our power. Epictetus teaches us to differentiate between what is up to us and what is not up to us. The pain of abandonment is not your fault, but the healing is in your hands. Recognize that people come and go, but your sense of self, your internal stability, must remain firm. Emotional neglect. Emotional neglect can be subtle, often unseen, but it creates a void. As a child, you may have felt ignored, unworthy of love, or like your feelings didn't matter. This creates a deep-seated belief in adulthood that you are unlovable or unimportant. The Stoics tell us that the most important relationship is the one we have with ourselves. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Begin to heal by recognizing your own worth. You are responsible for nurturing your emotions, even if they were neglected by others. Physical abuse. Physical trauma leaves visible and invisible scars. It creates a heightened sense of fear and a belief that the world is unsafe. This can lead to difficulties in trusting others and establishing healthy relationships. Stoicism teaches resilience through adversity. As Marcus Aurelius said, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The trauma you experienced can be the fuel for your growth. Learn to use the pain as a tool to build emotional resilience. Your body might remember the pain, but your mind can rise above it. 4. Verbal abuse. Words have power. A child who grows up hearing they are worthless, stupid, or a failure can internalize these messages and carry them into adulthood. This often results in self-sabotage and an inner critic that is harsh and relentless. Seneca reminds us, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. To heal from verbal abuse, start by reprogramming the way you speak to yourself. Replace the harsh, critical voice with one that is compassionate and forgiving. Stoicism teaches us that we are not the opinions of others. We are our own actions and thoughts. Sexual abuse. Perhaps one of the most devastating childhood traumas, sexual abuse can shatter a person's sense of safety, self-worth, and trust. The deep emotional and psychological scars can keep a person trapped in cycles of shame, guilt, and fear. Stoicism does not shy away from the harsh realities of life. Epictetus, himself a former slave, teaches us that while we cannot control the actions of others, we have absolute control over how we choose to respond. Healing from sexual trauma requires acknowledging the past without letting it define your future. Seek out therapy, support, and above all, remind yourself daily that you are not the actions of your abuser. 6. Witnessing domestic violence. A child who grows up witnessing domestic violence internalizes fear and confusion. They may believe that violence is a natural part of relationships or that conflict must be avoided at all costs. In Stoicism, we are reminded of the importance of perspective. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The violence you witnessed was outside your control. But now, as an adult, you have the power to choose peaceful, loving relationships and to break the cycle of violence. 7. Bullying. Bullying can be a deeply humiliating experience that damages self-esteem. The wounds of being mocked, ostracized, or physically harmed by peers can linger into adulthood, making it difficult to form trusting friendships or stand up for oneself. To heal, remember the Stoic principle that the opinions of others do not define you. As Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." The key to overcoming bullying lies in reclaiming your self-worth and understanding that other people's actions reflect their character, not yours. 8. Parental substance abuse. Growing up with a parent who struggles with addiction can create a chaotic and unstable environment. As a child, you may have felt responsible for fixing your parents' problems or learned to hide your own needs to avoid conflict. Stoicism teaches us to embrace what we can control and release what we cannot. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." You cannot change the past or your parents' choices, but you can choose to live a life of stability, integrity, and self-care. 9. Poverty. Experiencing poverty as a child can create feelings of shame, insecurity, and a scarcity mindset that follows you into adulthood. You may believe that success and abundance are out of reach for you. The Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus believed that wealth does not bring happiness, but virtue does. True wealth comes from within. To heal from the trauma of poverty, focus on building inner resilience, self-discipline, and gratitude for what you do have. 10. Loss of a loved one. Losing a parent or close family member as a child can create a deep sense of grief and abandonment. This loss can leave you feeling vulnerable and afraid of further emotional attachments. In Stoicism, death is seen as a natural part of life. Epictetus teaches us to prepare ourselves for the inevitability of loss. The grief you feel is real, but it does not have to define you. Honor the memory of your loved one by living fully, understanding that life is precious because it is finite. As we journey through life, the traumas of our past can feel like immovable obstacles, but the wisdom of the Stoics reminds us that while we cannot change what has happened to us, we can change how we respond to it. Healing is a process, one that begins with self-awareness, continues with self-compassion, and culminates in self-mastery. The chains that held you as a child can be broken. You are not bound by your past. You are free to create your future. If you found this video helpful, subscribe and turn on notifications for more content that inspires you to live a life of strength, wisdom, and resilience. Remember, you are stronger than your past and more powerful than your trauma. The Stoics knew this, and now, so do you.